We're excited to bring you another inspiring conversation, and today's guest is someone truly special from within our own ranks, Carney Daley. As Vice President of the Mid-Atlantic region, Carney isn't just leading, he's redefining what leadership means. Known for driving growth and championing innovation, Carney's impact goes beyond business strategy. He played a key role in sparking the creation of Women in Trades by inspiring our lovely President Jenna to bring this vision to life. Today, we'll explore how his leadership has empowered others, created real change, and left a lasting ripple effect across our workforce. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hi, Carney. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Jaslyn?
Doing good, thank you. So as I just mentioned, you played a key role in encouraging Jenna to start CELA Women in Trades. What inspired you to champion that kind of initiative?
Wow, what an awesome question. I think that realistically, when Jenna and I work together, and when I say work together, directly, right? She and I still work together today, but when we work together, she was one of my favorite people to work with, and always came in with either a new idea or came in with something that she was looking into, because Jenna's got like a critical eye on data, so I think that she's constantly kind of pushing the needle and making businesses better when she interacts with them. And when she and I worked together, it was really no different. One of the people that was, I think, really foundational in my career overall was my former manager at Mitsubishi Electric when I worked there. Her name was Patty Gillette, and was Patty was one of these people that uh, always, anywhere we went, she would walk into a room and people would stop talking and look to Patty, right? And they would look for her approval on things. They would look for her guidance on things. It didn't matter if it was marketing related, it could be operations related, it could be anything. And I always felt that Jenna had uh, a similar type of impact for me as a business leader. Is that, there's plenty of times where I would be working directly with Garrett, or I would be working with Adam Crowngold or Ralph as the sales manager, but I needed someone to bounce an idea off of, and I would look to Jenna. Right? Jenna was always that kind of like number two in my mind in terms of making sure what I was thinking wasn't absolutely insane. Right? And and that kind of impact I thought was super important, for me personally in my own growth, but I could see her being a mentor and a leader for others within the business. And we would regularly have conversations, and she came to me the one day and said, "Hey, I want to do this. Like there's not that many women here, like we can make a bigger impact." And I'm like, "Well, then just do it. Like don't overthink it. Don't, you know, sit there and spin your wheels. Like you have to just take action." The one thing I always lived by was like fast is better than perfect, right? And that, I mean, truthfully, at least that's the way I'm recalling it. Maybe Jenna can jump in and correct the record if I'm mistaken, but realistically, it was more like it was this idea that she had, and just the amount of respect that I have always had for her, and someone that I could rely on and trust. That I'm like, other people need that person as well. Other people need you, Jenna, to help lead them and be someone that can they either be a mentor or a guide, or just a sanity check. And I think that in many ways that has, I think, been accomplished and continues to be honed, because nothing's really ever accomplished. It's just a constant work in progress. And that's what I see, and that was kind of the rationale behind it. Really long-winded, probably a little bit all over the place, but that's my truth.
And you're taking me way back, Clarity. Wow. I remember those days, and I remember some of your not as realistic ideas. And the amazing ones too. You made a huge impact. And that's really, really cool to hear. And I really appreciate that. I think that this is much bigger, obviously, than me. This is a necessary, with the board, all of our members, even people that haven't heard about us yet, our new partners. I think that this is an amazing initiative. yeah, we're still working on for sure, but
Yeah.
we've come so far. And it's so funny because I'm not sure if you know this, but I do consider you like my mentor because you were in management when I was still at the beginning of my career, working in the office and answering phones and everything. So I appreciate that push and that confidence in me to really do all of this and grow my career and everything like that. So having a mentor is awesome. Having you really believe in this, in WIT, in women in trades, it's just, we all appreciate you.
That means so much. Like, I'm adding that to my diary right now. That's impactful. But I've been into so many different businesses throughout my career, not just our partners, but my time with Mitsubishi, right? I was in hundreds of HVAC businesses from Delaware up through Maine, right out to Pittsburgh. And inevitably, I would be sitting there talking to the business owner or the GM or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, so and so, she's the backbone of our business," right? And it was typically a younger girl or an older woman who was sitting in the office. She talked to customers, she talked to technicians, she talked to vendors, right? Doesn't seem like a glorious role by any means, but in reality, when that person, whoever that backbone of the business was, when she was out of the office, it was felt by everyone. And I'm going to go ahead and use a curse word because it was a complete shit show. Like, let's be real. When that person that is identified as the backbone of the office is out of the office, it's an absolute shit show, right? People don't know where to, like, I've been in offices where people are like, I don't even know where to order pizza. And you're like, how do you survive? Right? Like, what is your deal? Right? I don't know how to do payroll. Excuse me? How is this possible? You don't know how to do payroll for your 27, 49 employees without one individual. And I feel like it's such a valued thing for us to have a community where the women within the trades, be them people that are out turning wrenches, right, which I don't think we have enough of personally, or be it the folks in the office from a support role, from a sales perspective, whatever, there's representation and there's the ability to kind of shine the light on those folks that say, yes, you are in many ways the backbone of these businesses, whether you're the entrepreneur or whether you are that stable person that's been with the business for 18 years. The person that I'm envisioning right now is Cindy Washburn and I don't know if any of you know her, Jenna, I know you do, but Cindy is a CSR today, for Seala, Pennsylvania. But she came to us through an acquisition of a business in Bucks County, Pennsylvania called Fahrenheit. Cindy was a 17-year employee of Fahrenheit. And when we originally partnered with that business prior to tucking it into the Seala PA branch, the GM had zero ability to do his job without Cindy. When I went in there and I wanted information, I went to Cindy. When a technician was out in the field and didn't know which way was up, they went to Cindy, right? Like, she's the person I think of when I think of like the backbone of a business. It's Cindy Washburn. Like, that's what my mental picture is right now. Yeah, and I'm glad that you know the Cindy's of the world have an organization that's looking out for their best interests and looking for ways to, you know, continue to inspire and support and grow, her career and the likes of the others in the business.
I totally agree with you. And even to bring it back full circle, this Women in Trades, the community, like, we're here for each other. Anyone can join. We're going to support each other. And I'm so grateful that you guys decided, or you had this idea and you gave Jenna the support to start it. Because I think of the Cindy's and the Jennas of this industry. I consider Jenna one of my mentors. And if you never had this idea or you never supported her, we might have
Great.
not even met. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's really cool.
So our next topic. So we are airing this episode around Father's Day, and we have to ask, what has fatherhood, especially being a dad to Nora, taught you about leadership and empathy in the workplace?
Wow. I mean, with Nora, it is all about patience. So I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I feel like I've said it more often recently than in the past, but there are, it's actually like a question I ask in interviews is normally I ask a candidate, like, what is your superpower, right? Because every single person on earth is put on earth for some particular reason, right? In order to use, again, their superpower in some way. For some people, it's basketball. For others, I wish it was me, could be golf. Others, it's salespeople, it's team builders, whatever it is, right? Across the board. I I feel like my superpower is being a father to Nora. That is the only reason that I was put on earth, is to be a father to this one individual person, and she is everything to me. She is one of, like, the most challenging individuals I think I get to interact with on a daily basis. But the reason that she's challenging is because she, as a 7-year-old, she has the ability to call her father out on bullshit. So, you know, and her ability to recite, talk about evidence and receipts. She's like, nope, this is the day you said it. This is even the tone of voice in which you said it, Dad. And I'm like, damn, she's right. Okay, I did make that promise, or I did, whatever. It's definitely, in terms of leadership, what have I learned? Again, it's funny, but I do say patience, clarity, right? Eddie McFarlane, he's great dude, but he goes around and he says, clear is kind. And this is the first time Eddie's probably heard this from me, but I'll be honest, since we're on a podcast and it's being recorded for the world. First time he said it, I kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, all right, dude, here we go. Right. But the more I hear it, the more I use it. Clear is kind. Right. And even though that's an Eddie lesson to me, in practice, putting that in place with Nora has been super beneficial, because if I can get a 7-year-old to do something, I should be able to hopefully inspire others to do things as well. The other thing that Nora has taught me is she looks at the good in pretty much everything. You know, there's days that I pick her up from school, or I drop her off at school, and that time that I have in the morning to drop her off at school is like one of my favorite times of the day, because it's about 20 minutes of just unabridged, Carney and Nora time. And she'll just tell me something that happened at school the day before, and it's, Caroline was mean to me today. This is what happened. I'm like, oh, that stinks, buddy. She goes, but you know what? I don't think I was all that nice to her either. So today I'm going to be nice to her first, and I'm going to see what happens. And I'm like, who are you? What books are you reading? Are you in the self-help, section of the children's library? Like, what's happening here? So that ability to reflect and kind of place yourself in a situation, and then again kind of hold yourself accountable to it. I never thought that I would be analyzing what a 7-year-old was saying to me, but I do on a regular basis, because she's a pretty smart girl. So yeah, I feel like I've learned a lot from her.
That's awesome. I was just going to say, yeah, it sounds like, I mean, I don't have any experience, but it sounds like being a parent, not only do they learn from you, but you learn from them, no matter how old they are.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I wanted to hop in and say that I'm also a mom. So I'm a mom to a 3-year-old and Joey, and everything that you just said sums it up so nicely, because my favorite time is dropping him off from at school, or picking him up, and it's just what he says. And he's 3, and he is just saying so much now, and it's so funny to hear him like reiterate a book that he learned, or a song, or whatever. And I always say that's my favorite thing in the world, is being his mom, and that's why I was here.
Yeah,
That's what I was made for.
it's such an incredible thing, being a father, and having that level of connection with your kid. Because I have 6 nieces, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care, whatever, do it. I don't know what, I don't know who you kids are. Get out of my house, get off my lawn. But with her, it's like I said, she's the whole reason. And not to get like sad or anything, but I lost my father earlier this year, and
Hmm.
he was cremated, right? So we have a little bit of his ashes at home, and this is complete tangent, but Nora said to me, she goes, "Hey Dad, you really miss Pop." And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy, I do really miss Pop." And she goes, "Why don't we take why don't we take his ashes?" She called it his bones. "Why don't we take his bones and let's mix it into some dirt, and then let's plant a pop tree, and then we can visit him forever." And I'm
Wow.
like, you know,
Wow, yeah.
like little insights that these kids have, and it's now taken us months to find what pop tree we want to plant, but she's going to find one, and it's her job to find one, right? But like, just such an incredible experience, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's why I say, like, always look at the good in the world, always look at the good side of things. Even something like that, her perspective is, we haven't lost anything, we can still visit him forever, right? Like, that's to me like such an impactful kind of statement and scenario.
So at Estasio, I'm the office manager there. And I feel like how I was saying before, how my job is really to be a mom. They actually call me the mom of Estasio, and they've always called me that. So I feel like what you're saying and how Jenna has described you, and from what I know about you, and even like this short time that we had together, like I can see why you make such a good leader. And it's because of you were a born father and a born, think about a father, think about, a leader. Like really, Nora is learning everything from what you're doing and how you react, even though you may not think she is. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
the thing with the tree, maybe you had said something or you watched something together
Yeah.
and she got that idea. So I just think that's like, again, like with a full circle moment, because I feel that a lot. And they had named me and now everyone calls me mom, which is a little weird. It's a little more children than I expected. But I'll take it.
Yeah. No, that's great, because I mean, think about it. That's the absolute pinnacle. You're on Everest right there, kid. So like, that's awesome that's happened. Again, maybe a little bit weird. I don't know if I would call anybody else mom other than my mom. However, kudos to you, because that's an impact.
Yeah, that's probably one of my greatest achievements, and it sounds silly, but like think about it, 90 plus people call me mom at my job. Most of them of which are older than me, and I feel like I should have gotten a Mother's Day present, but I didn't. But that's fine. That's another subject.
Oh, I would bring that up. I would start guilt tripping. Oh
There you
boy.
go.
That was such a wholesome conversation. Sorry. Oh. So, do you ever see a future in the trades for Nora at all?
So I ask her all the time, like, what she wants to be when she grows up, right? And it's like your standard answers of veterinarian or lawyer, doctor, those kind of things. But lately she's been on a huge kick of being a lawnmower. And I'm like, "Do you mean like the actual machine? You want to be a lawnmower?" And she's like, "No." And our neighbor, his name is Carl. She's like, "No, Mr. Carl's grass, it looks awesome. I want to be a lawnmower. That's what I want. I want to be the person that takes care of that, because I think that's great." And I'm like, "All right, I'm cool with this. Like, let's lean in, you know." And I'm the absolute worst as it relates to landscaping. My yard looks like, I don't know, like no one lives here apparently, but she is all about it. So I mean, it's possible. My whole family's, we grew up in the trades. My father was an electrician. My brother's a stonemason. And aunts, uncles, various careers in terms of like trades. My sister-in-law, who's here all the time, she's a nurse. I consider that a tradesperson, right? Like, to a certain extent. And she's around it all the time. It's funny. Another real quick Nora story, if I can. One of the things that for Father's Day last year, the schools always make the kids do like a write up. What is your dad's name? How old is he? What's his favorite food, color, yada yada yada. But it was, what does your dad do for a living, or what is your dad's career? And at the time, my wife was volunteering in the school, and she said, Carney, this is hilarious. Like 90% of the kids, they just wrote down phone or computer, right? Because that's what they see their parents do. Nora wrote down toilet fixer, right? So, so I guess she didn't know the word plumber. And I am by no means a plumber because I don't want to, stolen valor, not a plumber, right? But I've obviously had to plunge some things here at the house from time to time. And she knows that, I work for a heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical business. So she just wrote down toilet fixer, which I thought was probably the greatest career title of all time. So we have hope. She might be a plumber when she grows up, or a toilet fixer in her language.
I think we should change our plumber's business cards to toilet fixer. I like that a lot better.
Toilet fixer. That's right. Google search that.
That's good PR for plumbers, I feel like.
I like it. Yeah.
You mentioned pretty much everybody in your family is in the trades, so I feel like you must have seen a lot of changes over the years in terms of like inclusivity and support for women in the trades. Can you talk about that?
It's definitely not just the folks in my family, but again, like all the businesses that we support and come in contact with. I mean, this happened yesterday. I was at this has not yet been announced company wide, but our latest partnership in Northern Virginia, My Plumber Plus, fairly large, super successful business in Northern Virginia, in Manassas. I'm their plumbing manager. Her name is Sylvia. She's wonderful woman from what I can tell just from the very short period of time I interacted with her. Got a hug day one, which was pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of pumped about that. Turns out she's a hugger, so I'm not all that special, but it's okay. I'm meeting with their general manager. His name's Phil, and Sylvia knocks on the door real quick and goes, "Hey, I just interviewed this plumber, X amount of years experience, came from this type of company prior." Phil goes, "Oh, that's great. That's great. Are you going to make an offer to him?" And she goes, "To her." And I'm really excited. And he went, "All right, this is awesome." Right. So to the level of excitement, one, that Sylvia had, but two, that Phil had on having, a female plumber in the trades, I think is representative of kind of where we stand today, right? The level of excitement that comes through. We have, Q. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Q, but she just graduated from our live fire training in the King of Prussia region, and Q's been working in the warehouse. I want to say for probably 2 years now, maybe 2.5 years, and she just graduated. She's going to go out in the field as an HVAC installer, and everyone is super pumped. Not just because it's a female installer, but because Q's a fantastic employee, right? Like
Right.
she's awesome. But there has been such a level of inclusivity and representation that's been ratcheted up, and I think one probably because even though it may not feel like it all the time, society in general has become much more inclusive and I think cognizant of how important representation is. But two, I mean, I say this to my sister-in-law kind of all the time. I feel like women are really running the world and driving so much change and innovation and improvement to society in general that we are seeing that in the trades. We're seeing that in our business, and there's no longer this kind of I don't know, backseat type of environment. It's very much like a true partnership, and I think each one of our businesses is really yearning for that and very accepting of it. And those that are not are going to just get left in the dust.
I agree. And I'm actually going to My Plumber next week, so maybe I will get to meet Sylvia.
Yeah. Oh, you'll definitely meet Sylvia if you're there for the the legendary inventory count.
Oh, that's what I'm going for.
Yep. Yeah, you'll definitely get to meet Sylvia. She's awesome.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I also heard you've kind of had an interesting journey, which included leaving Sela and coming back.
Yeah.
What made you come back?
Yeah. So, you can't talk about the comeback without the leave, I guess, to a certain extent, right? So, back in 2015, when we were just the 4 Sela locations, I had been working for Mike Rudolph. Mike was the GM at the time, of Sela, Pennsylvania, and I actually think he had just transitioned into a more corporate type of oversight role. Running human resources of all things, which is kind of hilarious that Mike would be in charge of human resources, and accounting. But we had a new GM at the time, and wasn't that I didn't jive with the new GM. I just kind of felt like, maybe I had hit my ceiling at this organization, right? I didn't necessarily see the opportunity that had, that was potential in the future, and just by chance, one of the recruiters from Mitsubishi Electric had sent me a message on LinkedIn, and I listened to it, and within kind of a 1 month period, had exited the business, and then I ended up going there. That's where I worked for Patty Gillette for 3 years, almost to the day, right? But
Wow.
Sela at that time was one of Mitsubishi's largest contractors in the country, right? Between the 4 locations, Sela was one of the largest contractors. So I still had to interact with all of the Sela locations, and I was still very much involved in the business in some ways. One day I went and I played golf with Dave Shea, one of the old partners at Sela. Great dude. I always say when I grow up, I want to be Dave Shea. And Mike Rudolph. The 3 of us went and played, and there was a point where they were both just said, "Hey, what's it going to take to get you to come back? Like, here's what we have going on, right? And here's the needs that we have for the business." And over the course of a few months, we kind of looked at it, and I saw the industry changing. When I was with Mitsubishi, there was a few times where contractors had been, acquired by another business. Horizon Services was really on the hunt for businesses, and we saw that consolidation effort. And just looking at kind of the Northeast where Sela was, there wasn't really a business that I thought was poised to do kind of what Sela Services has become, and become like a really strong business platform. I thought that Sela maybe had that opportunity. I had a lot of faith in Jack and Lou, and obviously Dave Shea at the time had a tremendous amount of respect for Mike Rudolph, and they swayed me back. They got me to come back, and it was I'm so glad I did, because it's been life changing. Being able to come back in the role, originally came back in the role of what was it, customer service manager, I think it was, Jenna, and that's when Jenna and I originally got to work together back in 2018, and then eventually just that kind of rolled directly into the GM role of our Sela PA business. So I think I just saw the opportunities that existed, and I'm so glad that I'm so glad that I did, because the opportunities that exist today are more than I had ever even kind of dreamed of. Right? I didn't see what we had become until we were already doing it. Sometimes I need to be hit in the face with what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm not the smartest guy in the room.
What an interesting journey. I can't believe that they were able to convince you to come back.
Yeah, no, it was good, because I loved my role at Mitsu too. I mean, I got to work with distributors, I got to work with contractors, all these different people. It was a ton of fun. My wife's grandfather said something to me that kind of always stuck with me. He said, "There's only 2 types of jobs you'll ever have in your life. One where you look at a calendar, and one where you look at a watch, and you have to figure out which one you want to be in." And originally, I interpreted that as, is there one that you could see yourself in for years? Right? There's the calendar job. Like, oh, I could be at that company for years, right? And then there's the company that you're just like staring at the clock on the wall, like, I cannot wait to get the hell out of this office, or get the hell off of this job site, and that's the type of job that you have where you're working off the clock. But I interpreted it a little bit different over time, where there's jobs where you look at the calendar and quarters, and that's how you map out your work and your life. And then there's jobs where you have to look at the clock because you need to operate in minutes and hours. And this is Steel Services is a business where both are what you have to do, right? You have to look at both.
Mhm.
Like the things that I could do this afternoon right now can make an impact to make sure we have jobs happening tomorrow. Make sure we have work going on the board, and then we're able to make a financial impact on the business, or we're able to make an impact on someone's life because now they have additional hours to work, right? And then there's the part where there's the strategic end, where you are working on the quarter, you're working on a calendar, you're working on a year, trying to map out like where are we going as an organization. And I think that's really cool because at least in the role that I'm in today, I have the ability to shift between, all right, we need to make shit happen immediately, like right now, and how do we make sure that we're prepared for the future? How do we make sure that we have enough technicians, that we have enough installers? How do we make sure that we're able to provide for our people in a way that's impactful to their life and beneficial to the team? And it's a really dynamic role to find myself in today, considering I started in the business answering phones in the call center, right? Like it's pretty awesome. It's been an awesome journey for the years I've been here.
It's crazy. Now you're the regional VP.
Yeah, check that out. Who would have thought that?
Back to what changes you've seen over the years. What do you think still needs to change?
I mean, I think that there's more. There's always more that we can do from an inclusivity standpoint, from a building community standpoint. I guess one of the questions I actually have for the four of you is, of all the members of the Women in Trades, right? Not just on the board, but in general of this community, how many men are on your member list? Just a percentage. Do you think it's less than 10%? 5%?
Yeah, it's probably maybe like less than 5%, I
Less
would
than
say.
5%. All right. So sorry to put you guys on the spot, right? But so what more can we do? So if we look at the membership of the Women in Trades, Steel Services Women in Trades, if less than 5% are men, the question is how do we grow that membership, right? How do you grow your allies? That's something that I look at and think that there's opportunity there, because the more attention and eyeballs and interest that we can gain, then the more traction can be made to proactively and intentionally, act upon your initiatives, right? And your initiatives are important, not just for, there's four people on the screen, so not just for the four of you or for the women that we have working in this trades, but they need to be impactful for me and for the balance of the organization. Because truthfully, the company will do better when we have more inclusivity, when we have more representation, when we have a more engaged community, not just of women in the trades or men in the trades, but of our entire employee base. If all of a sudden all of our employees are really, really invested and really care and want what's best for one another, not just in the broad sense of the word, or not just in the concepts of like, yeah, we want a nice, clean, safe environment to work in, but I want to see opportunity created for my peers, whether man or woman. I think that's super important, right? So much more work needs to be done till we get to that point, right? Like that's like the utopia kind of thing. So what I believe is more people, either perhaps like myself or like my peers, need to take a a greater level of interest in how do we help kind of grease the skids? How do we help accelerate your growth? One of the things we often say to businesses that we partner with is Sela Services wants to take your 5-year plan and help you execute it in 2, right? We want to be able to accelerate it to be able to accomplish your goals within a 2-year time period, whatever that may be. I think we should have that same exact philosophy as a leadership group for a women in trades organization. How do we help you accelerate your initiatives and make a greater impact, right? And that's just within our platform or our business here. But a company of our size, our stature, our impact in the broader trade community in the country, right, is able to do that and really highlight the work that you're doing. That's going to move the needle for others. That's going to make our competitors or our peers, right, in the space go, wait a minute, what are they doing? How are they doing that? We need to do that as well. So I'm cool with a little bit of like jealousy or what if kind of scenario going on. If it broadens it, yeah, that would be pretty incredible. So in terms of what else needs to happen, I think we need to give we need to give more of a shit. That's what we need to do. And not just give a shit, but we need to then act, right? Like action needs to come from this.
Right. And it's funny that you mentioned or asked how the percentage of how many of our members are men. I recently had a conversation with our general manager, and he was showing around our new VP and introducing everybody. And he brought up that I was a part of Sela Women in Trades. And I was like, yeah, like you should join, become a member. It's awesome. It's a great organization. And my general manager was like, oh, but men can join. And it just like after he said that, it made me reflect on like how clear our message is about what Women in Trades is, because it is about inclusivity for men and women,
Sure.
women and allies. And it just kind of made me reflect about our mission statement, how we're presenting ourselves to Sela, and what we can do to try to gain more male members, essentially.
Yeah, it's again, I think it's important from a just all of us need to care. If only the women in trades care, well then, not saying that you're doing it wrong, but we are doing it wrong, right? We need to care, because we're all ultimately responsible for the growth of the organization. We're all responsible for building the community, right? And not just building it, but continuing to support it. So I think that's a big piece from my perspective.
I agree. And backpedaling a bit to what we were talking about of trying to get more involved, and men in particular in leadership positions, and like that example you gave earlier of how we were hiring female technician, there might be some hesitations in hiring women in these positions. So just a personal example that I have recently had was I ended up going to a career fair at a high school, and it was a technical high school in Stanford. And there were more women than there were, well, I should say there were more girls than there were boys. And they kept coming up to me and they were like, wow, what do you do? Do you go out in the field and all that stuff? And I was like, you know what? I wish I did.
Yeah.
But mama's a little too old now to change her lifestyle. So I kind of am stuck in the office, but I am totally encouraging girls who are in technical schools like you, and that's what Women in Trades is about, is to continue to pursue it. And this is a great career, and why should the men get to have all the fun?
Right.
So if you knew the amount of girls that asked me, well, do you do women specific training? And what I answered was, well, why would that be any different than men specific training? Like it should
Right.
be the same. And they were like, ooh, I like that. So
Yeah.
I feel like we're trying so hard to change it. And like what Jocelyn was saying before, and you too, Carney, was like just getting new members and male allies in women in trades has been difficult even at my branch because they said, "Oh, I don't have the qualifications for that." I'm like, "You don't like women?" And they laugh. And then I'm like, "No, you just have to be an ally. Don't you like us?" And they were like, "Oh, okay." But then they still don't sign up. So it's frustrating. And, even if we just get the support like from that, or what I was going to ask you is there any advice that you can give to men in leadership positions to better support this diversity and inclusion, but don't know where to start or how to be confronted with the questions maybe I was asked?
Yeah, it is interesting because I don't know how I would respond to things, and this is, as authentic of an answer as I can give. If it weren't for the fact that I worked for Patty Gillette, and it weren't for the fact that Patty was a member of Women in the Trades from an industry, because there is one just specifically for the HVACR, Women in the Trades, right? And Patty's a member of that, and that she was an active member and would regularly talk about it. It raised my awareness, right? So my awareness level was already, I'm not going to say high, but at least moderate. I knew it existed. Um, I think that realistically, when we onboard people, when we go out and we talk to potential or prospective partners, that look to join the platform, I think that we should have even a level of representation there for the organization, right? Again, making it
Mhm.
more prevalent in our publications and the newsletter. It's there, which is fantastic. I think that there's ways that we can improve and raise the awareness for our team members. You know, there's ways for us to make an impact there. And for me, as someone that's in charge of an entire region, I think that I can put it on my shoulders to say, hey, I want more advocates, more representation from the Mid Atlantic into this group, and how do we influence and improve, and even beyond that, or I should say before that, how do we listen, right? Because how can I influence and improve if I'm not aware, right? I need to listen first, and we need to adopt that chair of being a learner and being a student, um, probably first and foremost, right? So that would be the challenge I think I would have for my teams in the Mid Atlantic, to see what we can do to kind of, quote unquote, get smart on women in trades.
Yeah, that's a great perspective and answer. Join us. That's my shameless plug. And just speaking on some of your own leadership, and I'm very curious because you have said a lot that I admire, and I was just wondering, is there any moments in particular that shaped how you lead today? And I know you talked about being a parent to Nora is one of them, and dealing with, all of the several people that you have to, and kind of hear
Uh,
out Jenna and everything that you've done so far, like, to become a VP and how you started as a CSR. I think that's just a great journey. And if there's anything that stands out particularly for you.
there's a few things that I always kind of like, I think are core to my, let's just call it like my leadership style or philosophy, perhaps. Um, One is, as I already mentioned it earlier, but it's fast is better than perfect, right? Right decision, wrong decision, make a decision. The action is super impactful, even if it's the wrong action. I would rather an employee or a team member make a wrong decision, but they made a decision, than be rendered kind of stuck, right? So that's one thing, because as a leader, what that does is that teaches me their decision making. How are they making decisions, right? If you actually break it down and kind of reverse engineer, well, okay, what was that? What was the logic that was applied to this? Okay, I can work with this individual, or hey, guess what? Carney, you no longer allowed to make decisions, actually. Right? Like hard stop. Um, so that is a big piece. The second thing is that I have really strong convictions on things, like really strong opinions, but they are loosely held. So what I mean by that is that you can change my mind on certain things that I believe. However, it is your responsibility to present a better argument, right? Like it's not my responsibility to change my mind. It's your responsibility to present a better argument. And once you do, yeah, I will flip flop. You know, and by no means am I actually getting political here. I'm just using it as a point of reference. There's always those people that are the swing voters, and in so many ways, like I'll talk to my wife because she and I talk about it pretty regularly. She's like, how can someone not know who they're voting for? I don't understand this. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. And, not that I am one of those people in this regard, but it's like, if you have a strong opinion, but somebody's making a really compelling argument, you can change your mind. Like, I don't want to just be dug into a bad idea, right? Like, come up with a better idea or a better position, and I'll adopt that. So there's been times where I've been probably accused of being a flip flopper on things, but I think it's important to have that ability, right? It shows that you're willing to learn. It shows that you're willing to challenge your norm, right? So that's important. So and then the other one is always, I develop a high level of trust with the teams I work with, and when I have that trust either in someone or with somebody, I feel like we can have extremely candid conversations. And I said it earlier, like there's times where I just need to be kind of hit in the face with stuff because I don't always understand nuance and I don't always appreciate kind of the gray area on certain things. So having a high level of trust, and the only way you can do that is by being yourself and being authentic. Love it or hate it, this is who I am pretty much every day of the week. Maybe if I had a few pops the next morning, I'm not this way, but you know, this is what you got. I don't know, Jenna, I'm actually going to put you on the spot. Would you agree with that statement, since you and I have actually worked together in that regard?
Yeah. I was thinking too when you were talking about, leaving and then rejoining Stila. And I remember when you came back, the day that you came back, and you were just this like big like force, like personality. And I was like, who is this guy? Why does he know everybody? Why is he just so like magnetic, and you're still exactly the same person. Like, you were yourself from day one. Drove me nuts at first, but
Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware. Fun fact. Now we're here. I'm totally saying this. So fun fact. I used to refer to Jenna because I would get home and my wife Kristen, she'd be like, how was today? How was everything? I'm like, great. I go, there is this one girl who works in the office. At the time, I said girl. So I'm trying to be accurate with my historical, statement here. And I go, there's this one girl in the office and she hates me. I know she hates me. I can feel it. And she's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I think she just thinks I'm like full of BS. I'm like, she's skeptical. And then the next day I'd come home and Kristen would be like, how skeptical girl? How skeptical girl? And I'm like, that's her name, skeptical girl. So I referred to Jenna as, not to her face. This was way behind her back. This is bad news bears. As I would reference Jenna as skeptical girl for probably the first, I don't know, 4 months. And then after that, we were tight. We were
and you didn't tell me that until what, 4 years later, 5?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know it was skeptical girl.
Oh yeah, I kept that under wraps for a minute.
Is that my superpower?
You're skeptical. Your level of skepticism is definitely a superpower, and it's done very well by you.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't believe you at first, but hey, you haven't changed. So
Hey, I've worked through it.
yeah. Yeah, speaking of being yourself, we heard you're into golf. You gave gardening a go. Do you have any
Right.
success stories there, or should we stick to green thumbs and golf clubs being optional in leadership?
Well, the green thumb, I think my wife would literally murder me if I took credit for what she has accomplished with some of the plants that we have in our home. Probably more my wife's doing than mine, but I water that bad boy on the regular, so I'm pretty sure that accounts for it. But no, Nora and I, we try to play golf at least twice a week together. So it's 9 holes, completely unabridged, just Daddy and Nora time in the golf cart for a solid 2 hours. After the round, normally head to the bar. She gets a Shirley Temple, and I'll have a drink, and we hang out, which is a blast for one drink, and then we head home. I got my dogs. We hang out. we go down the shore. Normal. I don't know, normal suburban dad stuff. It's pretty boring right now. those are my big hobbies. Yeah.
Actually, I had that I just had added that to my list. How many dogs do you have in your house right now?
Well, right now I currently have 3, but one of them is my nephew dog. It's Chuck. He's my sister-in-law's dog who comes to my house every day for doggy daycare. But we have Chester, who's our 13-year-old curmudgeon-y husky mix, who used to spend a lot of time at Seala back in the day. And then I have a 2-year-old golden retriever named Riggs, who is terrified of his own shadow. So thankfully, those are the only animals in my home right now. No more fish, unfortunately, or depending on who you are, fortunately, no more cats. So yeah, we're in good shape.
No temporary dogs right now.
No temp dogs. Not happening.
No foster
Not
puppy.
happening.
One more big question. What is something that people might be surprised to learn about you, either on the job or off?
So this is weird. I did win the International Canal Jousting Championship, so I'm technically an international champion for canal jousting. So there's that. That's a little weird. No one knows what canal jousting is, and you may not even get the real answer from me when you ask. The other thing is I do make a mean homemade pizza. I'm a great homemade pizza maker, and I have video evidence to prove it. I bring it down to the tailgates for the Eagles games. Go Birds, Super Bowl champions, by the way. I fire up a mean pizza. Yeah.
Okay, but you can't just gloss over canal jousting. Is this like Renaissance fair but on the water?
Okay,
That's what I picture.
I'm not walking around with a turkey leg and a beer in my hand here. No, this is not Renaissance fair. What do you? This is getting nonsensical at this point.
And he still refuses to answer the question of what canal jousting is.
Spin City.
I did Google it.
Uh-oh.
A traditional sport where 2 individuals, each on a boat, use lances to try and knock each other into the water. Is that accurate?
I cannot confirm nor deny, but there are plenty of canals in the U.S. as well as the Netherlands, and there may have been some people from all over the world competing, and I competed, and it's I'm an international champion. Look, just give me my credit here. You don't have to keep questioning me about it. I'll take champion.
Congratulations.
Thank you. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
All right, Carney. Well, thank you so much for answering all of our questions. This has been one of the most insightful conversations that I think I've personally had. So I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us. We do have a little tradition here where we have our previous guest speakers ask questions for our next guest speakers. So our last guest speaker was Eleanor Lenore from Women in HVACR as well as Goodleap. And she did want to know, what is your word for 2025?
Ooh, my word for 2025 is it's subtle.
Subtle.
Subtle. That's the word. Hey, I'm just saying that's the word. I've been saying it a lot lately. Oh, that's subtle.
How's that going?
Yeah. Look, I'm a pretty subtle guy. Subtle, yeah, subtle. It's actually it's a bit of an inside joke with my wife, my sister-in-law, and I, because I am married to a Disney adult, so that's a struggle. That's interesting for people, I'm sure. That's what I should have used. Damn it. But one of the things when we were getting ready and Kristen was trying something on, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Disney subtle. That's nice. It's completely and utterly obnoxious Disney ears or something like that, but it was very subtle for Disney. So that's how it started, and it's been just yeah, line drive the rest of the year. Subtle. That's the word.
I think that's a good theme for 2025.
Yeah, I can dig it.
And do you have maybe a quick question for our next guest speaker?
Absolutely. If you could put anything on a billboard, what would it be?
Good question.
Preferably words, but if you could put anything on a billboard, what would it be?
Oh, I have an answer, even though it's not for me.
What's your answer?
My Venmo handle.
Wow.
That's just a quick one. I'll come
Wow.
up with a more insightful answer later, but Venmo handle.
That's strong. So I'll give you my answer, which is if you're doing that, what are you not doing? And you can apply it to everything and almost everything in life. If let's say that regional vice president of the Mid Atlantic gives you some bullshit task to do that is not impactful to the business, you can respond with, if I'm doing that, what am I not doing? I'm not doing my actual job, right? So no, Carney, I'm not doing that. Okay, there's my answer. If you're sitting on the couch on a Saturday morning and you're scrolling through Instagram mindlessly, if you're doing that, what are you not doing, right? All you can apply it across the board. I think it's a really, really strong statement. So
Can we edit out my answer? That was really good. Yours is really good.
Don't do it, Tina.
I love the Venmo handle. I thought that was awesome. That's perfect.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us, Carney. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in and listening to another episode of ours. And other than that, just want to wish you all a great summer season and take care of yourselves.